The Galactic Council chamber still echoed with the last words of the meeting. Ambassador Velter stood silently at her podium, staring at the hologram of Earth, that small blue world that refused to speak. Around her, the delegates left in clusters, their voices low and uneasy. Even the proud Zephyrian warriors, known for their thunderous confidence, spoke in whispers now. Something about Earth unsettled them. Something they couldn't name. Dr. Thion, the Mandari xenobiologist, lingered beside Velter. His pale green eyes glowed with quiet worry. 2 centuries, he said softly. 2 centuries of silence. No response, no aggression, no explanation. What kind of species stays quiet for that long? Velter didn't answer. Her gaze remained fixed on the blue sphere above the table. They are listening, she said finally. I can feel it. They have been watching us. Thion frowned. Watching? From where? Velter looked toward the distant stars displayed on the chamber walls. From everywhere. Scene shift, outer space, edge of council territory. A patrol cruiser from the Zephyrian hegemony moved through the darkness. The ship was old but powerful, its hull glowing faintly with energy shields. Inside, Commander Reth, a broad-shouldered warrior with crimson scales, stood before his navigation officer. Any sign of human activity? Reth asked. None, Commander, replied the officer. Long-range sensors clear. Just the usual asteroid drift. Reth grunted, irritated. The council wastes our time with myths. Humans? They hide like frightened children. 2 centuries and not one of their ships dares to. A sudden alarm cut through his words. Red lights flashed. Contact detected, the officer shouted. Bearing 082. Unknown signature. Reth's eyes widened. Visual feed, now. The view screen flickered, revealing a dark shape emerging from the void. No transponder. No communication. Just a massive vessel sliding silently through space, its hull black as shadow. The ship had no visible weapons, no markings, and yet, every sensor screamed danger. By the stars, whispered the officer. That's not council tech. Reth leaned closer, his voice low. Magnify. The camera zoomed in. The strange ship's surface shimmered, shifting like liquid metal. Small lights blinked along its edges, precise, deliberate. Then, for a brief second, the ship turned, and the light from a distant star revealed a symbol burned into the hull. 5 simple letters. ARTH. Seen, inside the human vessel. The interior was quiet, filled with the soft hum of engines. Rows of consoles glowed blue in the dim light. A single human officer sat at the command chair, face calm, eyes focused. Approaching Nexus Station, said a soft AI voice. The officer nodded. Maintain speed. Do not engage communication yet. Understood, replied the AI. The officer looked at a small hologram floating beside the console, an image of Earth turning slowly in the dark. He touched it gently. They've talked long enough, he said. Now they'll listen. Back at Nexus Station. The Galactic Council was preparing for another day of debate when alarms began to echo through the hallways. Velter turned sharply as the lights flickered red. What's happening? An aide rushed to her side. Madam Ambassador, you need to see this. A ship is approaching the station, an unknown class, unknown origin. The words hit the chamber like a shockwave. Delegates turned toward the central display as the image appeared, a single vessel gliding through the void, heading straight for them. War Commander Crescent stood immediately. That ship is not transmitting identification codes. Prepare defenses. But before the Council's defense systems could activate, the human ship stopped, completely still just outside the station's perimeter. No weapons powered up. No signals sent. Just silence. For a long moment no one spoke. Then a new transmission flashed across the station's communication grid. Not audio. Not video. Just words. To the Galactic Council, this is the United Earth Directorate. We request entry. The entire chamber froze. Zixes, the Nexari merchant, clicked her mandibles nervously. They speak, finally. Cressa's voice boomed across the hall. Or they deceive. It could be a trap. Velter ignored him. Her hands trembled slightly as she looked at the message repeating on the screen. For 2 centuries humans had said nothing. Now, in 5 words they had shaken the entire galaxy. Open a channel, she ordered. Thion turned to her, alarmed. Velter, you can't. I must, she said firmly. They came here for a reason. Scene, first contact. The main display lit up. A figure appeared, a human wearing a dark uniform with a simple silver emblem, a circle around a single star. His expression was calm, confident. "Ambassador Velter," the human said. "I am Admiral Thomas Raines of the United Earth Directorate. We have been listening to your counsel for a long time." Velter stepped forward, her voice steady. "Admiral Raines, why did your people ignore us for so long?" Raines smiled faintly. "Because we were not ready to speak. And you were not ready to listen." Behind him, the screen shifted, revealing the vast blackness of space, and then thousands of lights flickered into view. Warships. Human warships. Each one larger and more advanced than anything the Council had ever built. Kress staggered back, his voice trembling. How many ships?" Raines looked directly into the camera. 1,000. "We come not for war, but for balance." The transmission ended. Silence filled the hall once again. But this silence was different, heavier, deeper. Because now the galaxy finally knew one thing for certain. Earth had returned. And nothing would ever be the same again. The image of Admiral Thomas Raines faded from the massive holographic screen, leaving the Galactic Council in heavy silence. For the first time in 200 years, the humans had spoken, and their words had struck fear into every heart inside Nexus Station. Ambassador Velter stood motionless, her silver skin dim under the flickering lights. Around her, chaos grew. Delegates shouted across the chamber in dozens of languages. Some demanded immediate defense activation. Others whispered about surrender. And a few, the most intelligent, stayed quiet, trying to process what they had just seen. 1,000 human warships. The number echoed again and again in every mind like a haunting melody. Scene, Council Chamber, Nexus Station. War Commander Crescent roared above the noise, slamming his metal fist against the Council table. The sound cracked like thunder. "Activate the station's defense grid. I want every cannon charged and every patrol ship in formation." His scales shimmered under the red lights of the alert. He turned toward Velter, his voice full of rage. "You see, Ambassador? They waited all this time to bring war. This is not diplomacy. This is domination." But Velter did not move. She watched the last still frame of the human transmission. Admiral Raines standing calm and composed against a backdrop of endless stars. His eyes had not shown anger, only purpose. "No," she said quietly. "They didn't come to destroy us. Not yet." Kress growled. "You're blinded by hope, Alarian. I've fought in 10 wars, and I know the look of an enemy fleet when I see one." Dr. Thaion, the Mandari scientist, adjusted his glowing wrist console. "Commander, the human signal contained no sign of hostility. No weapon targeting, no energy spikes. They are simply waiting." Kress snapped back. "Waiting for what?" Before anyone could answer, a low vibration rolled through the station. The floor trembled. The lights dimmed. And then, from the observation deck above the chamber, a gasping voice broke the silence. "They're here." Scene shift, outer space above Nexus Station. Through the thick glass of the viewing dome, space itself seemed to shimmer. Points of light appeared across the void, one after another, faint at first, then bright, like stars being born. Every second more arrived. 50. 100. 200. Each one was a massive ship, sleek and silent, gliding into formation around Nexus Station. Their hulls were dark gray, marked with glowing blue trails, the symbol of the United Earth Directorate. No two ships looked identical. Some were built like blades, others like wings. Some carried long hangars and rotating stations, others massive engines glowing white-hot. But all of them moved with impossible precision, quiet, controlled, unstoppable. The Council's defense officers panicked. Dozens of comm screens lit up across the hall. They're forming a perimeter around the station. No weapons active, but they're everywhere. We are completely surrounded. Inside the command chamber, Velter walked toward the main viewport. The blue glow of the human fleet reflected off her face. "They could destroy us right now," she whispered. Dr. Thaion joined her, voice trembling. "But they don't. That means they came with purpose, not destruction." Commander Kress's tail struck the floor with a loud crack. "Purpose? What kind of purpose brings 1,000 warships?" Scene, inside the human flagship, Solaris Prime. Admiral Raines stood on the bridge, surrounded by officers in dark uniforms. The large observation window revealed Nexus Station in the distance. A shimmering circle of light, tiny compared to the wall of human ships behind him. "Fleet in full formation, Admiral," reported Commander Hayes. "All systems ready. Awaiting your command." Raines nodded slowly. "Hold position. No weapons. No aggression. Let them see us. Hayes hesitated. Sir, the council might see this as a threat. Raines smiled faintly. It is a threat, Commander. A silent one. He turned toward the communications officer. Send message packet to Nexus Station. We come to talk. Not to kneel. The officer's fingers moved quickly across the console. Message sent, sir. Raines looked back at the endless sea of ships, humanity's united armada, the result of 2 centuries of preparation. The silence that once made them invisible had now become their greatest weapon. Scene: Galactic Council reacts. The transmission repeated across the council chamber. We come to talk. Not to kneel. Every delegate turned to Velter. Zixes, the Nexari merchant, clicked her mandibles nervously. They defy the council. They speak as equals, not subjects. Morn of the Free Worlds Alliance whispered, in all recorded history, no species has ever stood before the council with such power. Velter's voice was calm but cold. That's because no species has ever been ignored for so long. The council fell silent again. They all knew the truth. The galaxy had treated Earth as irrelevant, a quiet world unworthy of attention. But while they ignored, humanity evolved. Cress stepped forward, glaring at Velter. You admire them. No, she said softly. I understand them. Scene: Council orders a response. The council's chancellor, a tall crystalline being known as Primarch Salith, rose from the central throne. His voice echoed like bells. Prepare a response. The humans must understand they are not above the law. He turned toward Cress. Commander, mobilize the defense fleet. But do not fire unless attacked. Cress saluted sharply. With pleasure. As he left the chamber, Velter called out. If you open fire, you'll start a war the council cannot win. But Crescent ignored her. Scene: Space. Confrontation begins. Dozens of Zepyrian warships launched from Nexus Station, glowing red with energy. They formed a spear-shaped formation heading straight for the human perimeter. On the human flagship, Commander Hayes watched the blips appear on the radar. Incoming vessels. Weapons charged but no firing yet. Raines didn't move. Hold steady. Sir, they're locking onto us. Then let them see what they're aiming at, Raines replied. A single order left his lips, quiet but firm. Activate the barrier grid. Instantly, every human ship shimmered with blue light. A massive energy web formed between them, silent, stable, unbreakable. The Zepyrian warships fired their first warning shots. Bolts of red plasma hit the barrier and vanished like drops of rain. Not a single human ship moved. Inside Nexus Station, gasps filled the council chamber as the display showed the impossible. Zixes whispered, their shield, it covers the entire fleet. Dr. Theon's eyes widened. That's not a shield. It's an energy lattice, a single system across 1,000 ships. Cress's voice thundered through the comms. They mock us with their silence. But Velter whispered to herself. No, Commander. They are teaching us. Sing, the message. Suddenly, all human ships dimmed their lights. Every engine, every beacon, every system went dark. The entire fleet vanished into shadow. Only the blue web of the barrier remained, glowing softly. Then, in the silence of space, a single transmission echoed across every channel, translated instantly into all known galactic languages. 2 centuries ago you invited us to join your council. We listened. We watched. And we learned. You built laws. We built unity. The council chamber was still. No one moved. Every delegate, warrior, trader, scientist, and diplomat, had their eyes locked on the small group of humans standing before them. Their leader, Ambassador Hale, stood tall, wearing a simple dark uniform with no symbols, no rank. Only a silver patch on his sleeve that read, United Earth. For a moment, the silence was deafening. Then Velter spoke, her melodic voice cautious but curious. Ambassador Hale, humanity has been silent for 2 centuries. You ignored every call, every offer, every warning. Why now? Why have you come? Hale's calm expression didn't change. He looked around the chamber, his blue eyes reflecting the lights of the grand hall. When he finally spoke, his voice was steady, quiet, but it carried across the massive room. Because now, he said, you are ready to listen. The delegates exchanged uneasy glances. Commander Crescent, the towering Zepyrian, slammed his hand on the table. This is arrogance. The council has ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. You come here uninvited, without respect, and claim we are ready to listen to you? Hale turned toward him, his voice still calm. You misunderstand. For 200 years, humanity listened to you. We heard every word, every law, every warning, every threat. He paused, letting the silence stretch. But we also watched. We saw how the strong ruled the weak. How peace was maintained not through justice, but fear. The room fell into murmurs again. The merchants whispered about trade routes. The warriors grumbled about defiance. The scholars leaned forward, intrigued. Velter raised her hand. Ambassador Hale, are you accusing the council of corruption? Hale's gaze hardened slightly. I'm not accusing, he said. I'm stating a fact. We watched your wars, your negotiations, your councils. You call it peace, but it is only control. Behind him, one of the human aides tapped a wrist device. A holographic image appeared in the center of the chamber, a map of the galaxy. Red marks glowed across it. These, Hale said, are all the worlds that suffered under the Council's guidance. Civilizations destroyed because they refused to bow. Colonies stripped for resources. Entire species erased from your archives. Dr. Thion, the Mandari xenobiologist, stepped forward, his voice soft but tense. That data is forbidden. It was sealed after the Tazir rebellion. Hale nodded. Yes, we know. We broke your encryption decades ago. The chamber erupted in noise, shouts, protests, disbelief. Security drones hovered closer, weapons humming. Still, the human delegation didn't move. They stood like statues, perfectly calm. When the noise finally faded, Hale continued. For 2 centuries, Earth remained silent because we were learning, watching, preparing. We saw what kind of galaxy this is. He turned to the vast hologram of stars. And we decided that when humanity finally spoke, it would not be as servants. A cold silence spread across the hall. Velter's voice trembled slightly. What are you saying, Ambassador? Hale stepped forward. We are not here to join your council. We are here to change it. Every light in the chamber dimmed. A deep hum filled the air. The holomap shifted, showing new signals appearing at the edge of council space. Thousands of them. The council's communication officer gasped. Multiple contacts. Unregistered fleets approaching from Terran space. Configuration unknown, no transponders. Commander Crescent shot to his feet. You dare invade council territory? Hale didn't flinch. Not invasion, he said. Introduction. The hologram zoomed in, revealing enormous warships, sleek and black, their hulls glowing faintly blue. Entire battle groups were moving in perfect formation. For 200 years, Hale continued, humanity built in silence. We built fleets, worlds, defenses. Not for conquest, but for protection. We saw what you do to those who stand alone. Dr. Thion whispered, half in awe, half in fear. They built all this without us even knowing. Velter leaned forward, her calm composure beginning to crack. If you come in peace, she said, then why bring an army? Hale looked directly at her, and for the first time, a trace of sadness crossed his face. Because peace only exists when the strong can defend it. The lights flickered again. The transmission feeds across the station began filling with images. Human ships orbiting the outer colonies, escorting convoys, taking positions near strategic points. The council was in chaos. Orders shouted. Translations jammed. The whole chamber buzzed with panic and disbelief. But Hale simply stood there, unmoved. Then he raised his hand and the hologram changed once more, showing an image of a human child playing under a blue sky. This is why we came, he said quietly. For our future. For every world that deserves to live free. His voice softened, but his words carried like thunder. Humanity does not seek war. But we will never kneel. The council chamber froze. The lights dimmed to black. And just before the feed cut out, the human fleet symbol appeared across every screen. A simple Earth emblem, glowing white against the void. The lights of the galactic chamber flickered back on, revealing a scene of chaos. Delegates shouted across the hall, translators struggled to keep up, and security drones swarmed the air as if expecting an attack. The image of Earth's glowing emblem still hung above the center of the room, quiet, unblinking, and impossible to ignore. Ambassador Velter stood frozen at her podium. Her mind raced as she watched the humans' calm retreat from the hall, flanked by their silent guards. The doors closed behind them with a hiss that felt louder than a thunderclap. For a moment, no one dared to speak. Then Commander Crescent of the Zepyrian hegemony broke the silence with a roar that shook the walls. Enough of this insult. They come here armed like conquerors. Their ships surround our colonies as we speak. This is not diplomacy, it's an invasion. His armored fist slammed down, cracking the marble table. Sparks leapt from the impact. Across from him, the small insectoid trader Zixes of the Nixari Consortium clicked her mandibles nervously. An invasion? No. If they wished to destroy us, they would have done so already. Their ships move, with discipline. They've made no hostile acts. Not yet. Not yet. Cress barked. You would wait until they strike first? Velter finally raised her voice, calm, controlled, but sharp as a blade. Enough, both of you. Fighting among ourselves will not help. The humans came here with a purpose. The question is, what do they want? Her words steadied the room. Slowly the other ambassadors returned to their seats, though tension still burned in the air. Dr. Ion, the Mandari scientist, adjusted his holographic lenses. We must not underestimate them. They spoke truth. Their data was accurate. Those hidden wars, the erased civilizations, we did hide them. Several delegates turned sharply toward him. You dare admit this now? Hissed the Alvaran representative. Theon's expression was grim. I dare speak truth because pretending will not save us. The humans know everything. And if they've built fleets of that scale in secret, they have capabilities beyond anything the Council has faced in centuries. The hall went silent again. Even Crescent, the proud warrior, said nothing. Velter's gaze moved toward the holographic map, hundreds of human fleet signals glowing red near the edges of Council space. It looked less like an invasion, and more like a warning. Perhaps, she said softly, they do not want war. Perhaps they want to change the Council, as Hale said. Change? Zixes echoed. You mean control. They want to rebuild everything under their own rule. Every empire starts with such words. Velter turned toward her. And yet, have we done better? We've called this peace, but it's only peace for those who obey. Cress growled. You sound like them. I sound like reason, she replied coldly. We have forced entire species to bow or burn. Perhaps humanity simply refuses to kneel. A soft mechanical chime interrupted their argument. The main display flickered. A transmission was coming in. The chamber darkened. The Earth emblem returned, then shifted to the face of Ambassador Hale. His voice was calm as ever. This is Ambassador Hale of United Earth Command. To the members of the Galactic Council, our fleets will not engage unless provoked. But understand this, humanity will no longer stand apart while injustice rules this galaxy. The delegates listened in stunned silence. Our ships will patrol border systems to protect neutral worlds. We will assist colonies that have suffered under Council exploitation. If any world wishes to govern itself freely, Earth will defend that right. Dion whispered, he's declaring protection over independent systems. Cress snarled. He's seizing our territory. Hale's voice continued. Your council has brought order through fear. We offer something else, strength through unity. Choose your side carefully. The era of silence is over. The transmission ended. For several seconds no one breathed. Then the entire chamber erupted in noise again, panic, rage, fear. Zixis slammed her tiny claw on the table. They will collapse the economy. Do you know how many colonies rely on our trade routes? Cress rose to his full height. Then we fight. I will summon the hegemony fleets. We will show them what real war is. Velter's voice cut through the shouting like steel. You will do nothing. All eyes turned to her. You send your fleets and they'll burn. You've seen their ships. You've seen their precision. You have no idea what weapons they carry. Cress bared his teeth. And you would just let them humiliate us? No, she said softly. I will talk to them. The hall fell quiet again. Dion blinked. You? Alone. They sent a message, Velter replied. Not a threat. Someone must listen before it becomes one. Cress shook his head. You'll regret this. Perhaps, she said. But if humanity truly came for change, not conquest, we must understand what that change is. She turned toward the massive window behind the council seats. Beyond the glass, the stars glimmered, and in the distance, faint blue trails marked the arrival of more human ships. Velter's silver skin reflected the starlight as she whispered, almost to herself, the galaxy ignored Earth for 2 centuries. Maybe now, we must learn to hear them. The camera pans slowly across the council chamber, faces tense, silent, uncertain. Outside, the vast shadow of a human dreadnought passes by the station, blocking out the light for just a moment. End of Part 5, The Council's Reaction. Dramatic music swells. Fade to black. Narrator, for the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy was afraid, not of destruction but of change. The great hall of Nexus Station stood silent. The meeting had ended hours ago, yet Ambassador Velter remained. She stood before the enormous window overlooking the galaxy, the stars shining like cold fire. Below, fleets of every species drifted in confusion. But above them all, in perfect formation, hung the human warships. Hundreds of them. Silent. Waiting. A soft voice broke the stillness. Ambassador Velter of the Alaran Collective. She turned. Two human soldiers stood by the doorway, armor black as night, the flag of Earth glowing faintly on their shoulders. Between them stood Ambassador Hale. He walked forward slowly, calm, unarmed, but carrying the quiet authority of a man who knew exactly what power he commanded. Ambassador Hale, Velter greeted, her tone steady though her heart raced. You've caused quite a storm. He smiled faintly. It wasn't my intention to start one. But the galaxy needed to see that humanity still exists. Velter faced him fully now, her silver eyes narrowing. For 2 centuries you ignored every message, every invitation, every warning. And now you arrive with an army large enough to crush us all. Tell me, Hale, what do you really want? Hale stepped closer to the window, his reflection merging with the stars. For 200 years we watched. We learned. We listened to your broadcasts, your politics, your wars. The Council speaks of peace, but we saw the truth, peace built on fear. His voice hardened. Species forced into obedience. Worlds stripped of resources. Colonies silenced if they resisted. You call it order. We call it domination. Velter's tone stayed even. You judge without understanding. The Council prevented chaos for centuries. By erasing freedom, Hale replied. By choosing who lives and who dies. Earth remembers what tyranny looks like. We've lived through it. We swore never again. Velter hesitated. There was something in his words, conviction, not arrogance. The same resolve that had built empires, and destroyed them. So you plan to overthrow the Council? She asked quietly. Hale shook his head. No. We plan to give it a choice. He gestured toward the holographic map projected above the table. It showed the vast galaxy, with glowing human fleet icons surrounding Council space like a tightening ring. The fleets you see are not here to conquer. They're guardians. Every system that chooses independence will be under our protection. No more forced membership. No more wars disguised as peacekeeping. The age of control ends tonight. Velter looked at him in silence for a long moment. Then she said softly, You speak as if you hold the power of gods. Hale smiled faintly. No, Ambassador. Just humans who learned to stop worshipping them. For the first time Velter felt a chill. She realized this man truly believed what he said, and perhaps he was right. She walked closer, her tone cautious. Do you understand what this means, Hale? The Council will never agree. There will be war. He looked at her, his eyes calm. Then it will be the last war the galaxy ever fights. A deep silence fell. Beyond the window, the stars flickered, then dimmed as something massive moved across them. Velter gasped. A colossal shadow passed over Nexus Station. It wasn't one ship, it was dozens merging into formation. Their hulls glowed with faint blue symbols, the mark of the Solar Armada. The full force of humanity had arrived. From the chamber below, alarms blared. Messages poured in from the outer systems. Fleets reporting human ships in every sector, blockading key routes, disabling weapons silently without firing a single shot. No one was dying. No worlds were being bombed. But control, the Council's control, was vanishing before their eyes. Velter turned back to Hale. You planned this. He nodded once. For a century. Why now? She whispered. Because now we're ready, he said simply. And because you were the only one willing to ask why. Her voice softened. And if I tell them to stand down? To negotiate? Then we rebuild the galaxy together, Hale replied. A council of equals, not rulers. She studied his face, the calm, unshakable resolve, the fire behind the human restraint. What if they refuse? She asked quietly. Hale looked out at the endless stars. Then we show them what Earth learned when no one came to help us. We show them what happens when humanity stops being silent. The room trembled as the massive ships repositioned, casting Nexus Station in a blue glow. Velter closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of 1,000 years of politics crumble around her. When she opened them again she spoke quietly, but with strength. Then speak your ultimatum, Hale. Let the galaxy hear it. He faced her fully now, standing straight, his voice steady and clear. "Tell them this," he said. "Humanity does not seek war. But we will not obey those who build peace from chains. The council must choose, unity through freedom or extinction through pride." He paused, letting the silence stretch, then added almost gently, "The age of silence is over." Outside, the stars flared bright as the human ships powered their engines. The light filled the hall, washing over Velter and Hale as if a new dawn had begun. Velter whispered, "Perhaps, this is what peace was meant to be." The screen slowly fades to black. A final voiceover, deep, calm and haunting. For 200 years Earth said nothing. When they finally spoke, the galaxy listened. End of Part 6, The Human Ultimatum. Epic orchestral music swells. Screen fades out to the logo, HFY Sci-Fi, the silence is over.